All I need are some tasty waves, a cool buzz, and I am fine, dude. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, released in 1982, and is directed by Amy Hecklering. Yeah, bro. Who's also directed such films like Johnny Dangerously, National Lampoon's European Vacation, and a couple of TV episodes of The Office and Gossip Girl. And this movie has a far-out cast of Sean Penn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Judge Reinhold, Phoebe Cates, like totally, Ryan Backer, Robert Romanus, and Ray Walston. Fast Times at Ridgemont High follow a group of Southern Californian high school students in what is supposed to be the greatest year of their lives and enjoying the most important subjects: sex, drugs, and rock and roll, bruh. I really need to not do that voice throughout the entire thing, because then this is just gonna go and I need to teach. So it was fun while it lasted. That is the official plot synopsis that I got from IMDb, because when thinking about the actual plot of this movie, I cannot pinpoint it down. This thing is kind of all over the place. Basically dealing with the inner workings of teenage minds during their senior year of high school. So there is a lot going on, and I'm sure a lot that would have been labeled as provocative back in the 1980s. Pot smoking, drugs, kind of like inner workings of gamblings, robberies, and dealing with some very touchy subjects, even to today's standards, with abortion and being pro-choice and being pro-life. This is actually a very progressive film. I just wish that the storyline here, at least the vision of it, was just a little bit tighter and a little bit more specified. There is actually a lot about this movie that I really enjoyed. This is, of course, my first time viewing it. I've always heard about this film, about how Sean Penn just kind of steals the show, and then the famous scene with Phoebe Cates when she's coming out of the pool. You ever ask like film historians, or at least like film directors now, what was your movie crush when you were a kid? And almost the majority of them would say Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, just because of that famous scene. And I'll be honest, if I was a teenager back when this film came out, yeah, I would have definitely been attracted to her. She would have been in my top 5 back then as well. I gotta be careful. I feel myself going back into the surfer Californian bra type dialect, and I don't want to do that. But I've never seen that scene before. I've never seen this film before, so finally it's another thing I can check off my list of things that I have finally watched, all thanks to this channel. And I gotta keep reminding myself that the tropes of all of these high school comedies, high school dramas, where they talk about, oh, this is our senior year of high school, it's supposed to be the greatest year of our lives, let's live it up, let's go out and party, let's do everything, let's be spontaneous. I have to remind myself that this is probably one of the first films to do that. Growing up, I had, teenage comedies, American Pie franchise, so many countless other teenage comedy high school dramas to watch that all deal with, yeah, let's live it up, this is high school, this is the best, this is gonna be great, you're all my best friends, we're all gonna stay connected throughout the rest of our lives, it's gonna be great. When in reality, that really rarely ever happens. But all of the tropes and everything that I've seen with this genre, I have to remember that this film came out in 1982. This was before all the ones that I've seen. So even though I'm seeing things that I've seen countless other times before, I have to remember, hey, this was probably one of the first ones to actually do this, so I need to pay it a little bit of respect, even though I know exactly where it's going. But what I do respect this film on is the not romanticizing the urge or the need when you were a teenager to explore your sexual desires. I'd say the main focus of this film is on Stacey Hamilton, who throughout this film is really discovering herself and discovering who she is as a person and what she wants in a sexual partner and what she wants in her sexual lifestyle. Because she knows that she's a teenager and there's a bunch of peer pressure when you're a teenager to have sex and not be a virgin anymore. I don't know why that exists, but it does. So she's constantly talking about it. She's constantly trying to find someone to have that first sexual encounter with. And then when she does finally hook up for the first time, she starts exploring more of her sexuality and her sexual preferences with other partners. And the way that the director handles it, it doesn't handle it from a side of, hey, that's shameful, someone going around, in particular a woman going around and sleeping around, oh, how provocative. No, we are approaching this as she is a person figuring out what she likes and what she wants. And I love that. I mean, I'll call it out right now. How many films have you seen where, there's a female character, in particular a teenage female character in a high school that goes around and sleeps with a bunch of different people and she's labeled as a slut? I hate using that word, but how many times have you seen that? Whereas stereotypically, if a boy goes around and does that, he's labeled as, just, oh my god, he's awesome. He's the king. He's getting so many notches under his belt. He is awesome. It's a double standard that shouldn't exist, and it actually really pisses me off. So I love that we're exploring her sexual journey, not in a demeaning way. Now, does she have some terrible experiences? Absolutely. And that's where we get into the whole pro-life, pro-choice thing, and she goes to the abortion clinic. And this is 1982. I know I had a sheltered childhood, but I didn't even know that abortions or things like that was even an option growing up. But I was brought up in a very strict household. Basically, if my parents found out that I ever had sex before I was married, I would have been basically crucified. So I love her character arc, and I love the surrounding characters around her journey. In particular, Judge Reinhold as her brother Brad, who... Judge Reinhold, that's like the greatest name ever given to a person in the history of the world. And I love how he's supposed to be a senior, but when you look at him, you go, you look like you're 33, dude. Maybe you're not that, maybe you're in your 20s, but you are not a senior in high school, sorry. But his character seems to have his shit together, and he's a really, really good person, especially when he finds out that his sister is going to the abortion clinic. I love his reaction. It's a very progressive reaction. And when it happened, I was like, good for you, Brad. You're a good brother. You're a very good brother. Thank you. But I can't talk about this movie without talking about the character that does steal the show and is on all the posters, on all of the covers. He's barely in this movie, maybe like 20 minutes of screen time, but his presence, his Californian surfer bra accent, it lingers throughout the entire thing. It's hilarious. It's so fun to watch, and that's Sean Penn, of all people. The guy who will gladly take you out in the alley behind back and just beat the crap out of you with his car keys is a cool surfer bra. Now again, this is my first time watching this, but was this like the first time we ever saw like the Californian surfer character in a film? It was 1982. I can't think of any examples prior to this. If anyone out there can think of anything, leave it in the comments. But I'm kind of going into this thinking, like, was this whole stereotype of a Californian surfer bra started with Sean Penn? If so, then kudos to him. And if not, it's still an amazing performance. His relationship with the teacher, Mr. Hand, is probably the best interpersonal relationship in this entire film. Sean Penn starts off as the slacker who comes late to class, he's eating food in class, but he's not putting forth the effort to do well on the final exams. And I love how the teacher keeps track of how much time Sean Penn wastes in his class. That way, in the end, he actually shows up at Sean Penn's house and he's like, hey, you owe me 8 hours because you wasted my time, so I'm gonna waste your time on your dime. I like that. I would never do that as a teacher myself. I would never go over to a student's house to waste their time, because I'm pretty sure I would be written up for that and probably fired, actually. But it was still fun to see. The only detriment I have to this film is that it's kind of just all over the place. There's no really one through line. Yes, Stacey Hamilton appears to be the main character in the main journey that we're going on, but at one point we're following these characters over here, and they have their own little side storyline that kind of doesn't really go anywhere, and then we have Brad's storyline over here that kind of resolves itself in the end. I'm not sure. It feels like there were a lot of good ideas for each of these characters and each of their stories to do some funny and cool things in each of their lives, but combining all of these characters together, it was hard to follow. Plus, it's also very sad to see the state of how malls are nowadays compared to back then in the 80s when going to the mall was the thing to do. It was the place to hang out. You can go to a movie and you can get a pretzel afterwards. And as someone that has worked at a mall for many, many years of his life, it's just deteriorated over the last decade. Retail has deteriorated over the last decade, which... actually, since I've been in that field, I can say I'm okay with it. I love ordering things online from Amazon. I don't have to go anywhere and talk to anyone. I can just do it like that. In my opinion, malls suck, I'm sorry. But I love how we're still nostalgic about the 80s and malls, especially with Wonder Woman 1984 coming out a couple of months ago, and basically seeing the opening of this film, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and then the opening of Wonder Woman 84 when she's in the mall too. It's almost the exact same thing, except with Wonder Woman and crime. This film, though, is a really, really fun time. Don't go into it thinking you're gonna get any, like, great storytelling device here. You're just gonna see a lot of fun characters. There are some very progressive subplots here, but it's a fun time overall. Nothing to go out of your way to see. I'm going to give Fast Times at Ridgemont High 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
Alright guys, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and the next one is actually going to be another PayPal donation from Caleb Etheridge. He is the reigning PayPal donation king, and he sent in a couple of recommendations, and the first one that we're going to check out is the movie called Us, or Us, as it's probably pronounced. This is the follow-up to Jordan Peele's masterpiece of a film, Get Out, and I've only seen this once, and I remember it giving me the creeps watching it. Actually, I think I had nightmares where I woke up from a nightmare in the darkness of my bedroom and thought that a doppelganger was sitting in the corner just waiting to come over and kill me with a pair of shears. So this will be fun to rewatch. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, you can leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter, leave your recommendation there, and if I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout on the channel. And if you want me to do your recommendation as quickly as I possibly can and bypass the whole random generator that I have here, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do, just attach your movie with the donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can. So guys, have you seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High? What did you think about it? If you grew up with this movie, what are some fun, favorite memories that you have of watching this thing? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Us. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.